Az and I are getting to the pointy end of the Nova Gen 3 small block conversion. We're almost ready to try and start it. We've just got to make plug leads for it because we're using those Subaru coil packs. So what we're doing is, rather than just size up the leads, we've just bought a unterminated lead kit. There's a heap of brands that make these. They probably all do the same thing. This is just a small block Chevy angled lead kit, which suits our application. You can get them with straight leads as well, depending on what you're doing. Commonly available, pretty cheap. One thing you do need with these is a crimping tool. This is out of a previous kit that I've had. Don't try and do this without the crimping tool because it won't work. You can either use this as really simple, just a thing that you get with one of the brand kits. But there is also like ratcheting crimpers. If you're doing this all the time, you might want to get a ratcheting crimper, but you're going to pay a couple $100 for it. This works really well. You just stick it in, load it up, stick it in the vise, crunch it, done. So I got the instructions here. It's not rocket science, basically. First of all, you just got to cut away a bit of insulation. 15 to 16 millimeters apparently, which is awfully accurate. Next up, we've got to push the boot on. You've got to push it on further than it needs to go so you can access the core of the lead, or wire if you're from America, so we can crimp this on. These are really hard to put on. It advises you to use CRC or some sort of lubricant like that. That doesn't even really work. I'm using silicone grease because it's much more effective. They're a super tight fit to keep it waterproof, and being sort of rubber on silicone rubber, it's very hard to push on. So you've got to slather it with this stuff to have any hope of going on there. It's also got to go around a corner, which is even more fun. It's a boy. Righto, we've got our boots on, so now we've got to crimp on these terminals. As I said, you need a tool, but to start off with, this here gets rolled back. That's your conductor. That's put on the inside. And I do just a little crimp just to sort of hold it together with a pair of pliers, just to get the shape. Then we get our magic tool. Put it in the right way, that'll help. You can see that's got the jaw shape in it. So that's obviously got to go on the open side because that's what we're manipulating. We've got it loaded up, straight in the vise. Pretty simple. And there we go. That is very, very difficult to do with a hand tool. I'd advise you, if you're going to do this, just either get this or whatever, but that will fall off if you don't use the right tool, as with most wire crimps. Once you got that crimped on nicely, you got to slide this boot back over the top. That sits in there like that. Clips onto your dizzy or your coils in our case. Once again, this here bonds to this silicone rubber so well that you can barely move it. So what I do is just get a pick and just get in underneath the boot here, like that, and give it a little squirt of some lube of some description. And that should allow you to move it, but it is difficult. And there it is, seated in there nicely. Now we just got to repeat it 8 times, put them on the car, fire it up, and do some burnouts.
Each lead is connected onto the spark plugs and routed up to the Subaru coil packs, which are mounted on the firewall. Az is then filling up the cooling system with some coolant concentrate and mixing it to the correct ratio with water. Al is then refitting the brake booster and master cylinder. He then needs to find a new spot for the proportioning valve, as it was previously mounted below the master cylinder where the new exhaust manifold is. Once a suitable spot is found for the proportioning valve, some new brake lines for both front wheels are made up, and also another line that joins up to the rear. For a more detailed video on how to make brake lines, check out episode 14 of the Barra-powered Bedford van. With some new brake lines made up, it's time to bleed the brakes and then refit the freshly painted valve covers.
Me and Woody and Az have been spending a lot of time on this Nova over the last 6 weeks or so. It's been in the background. You probably would have seen it in the background if you were watching the Bedford build. We're almost there. We've done the exhaust, we've tidied up the engine bay, painted those covers, made new brake lines, heater hoses, got the coolant all sorted. We've gone through the motions and got the timing right. Az has checked all his wiring, he reckons it's all good. So we're ready to start it up, I reckon. How about it, Woody?
Yeah, mate, I'm good.
Hit it.
Sweet.
has.
I reckon we're nearly ready to send the Nova out to the world. We'll send it over to the dyno first and get some tune into it. Starts and runs, everything's working. Just got to put the right numbers in it now. We've added a oil breather system because it's breathing out of the valley, so it goes up into that, and that's full of steel wool and stuff like that, and then breathes out. We might plumb it back. We'll probably change the colour of the fittings too, because that's all I could get at the moment, but it looks pretty naff, everything else being black. The brakes are working good. We've added a overflow, like a header tank or overflow bottle for the radiator, so it doesn't spill all over the engine bay and look like a Subaru. And everything else is ready to go, so let's hear it.
We'll do better later.
Did you have a bit of a spill, Az?
You remember when we just got that glorious shot of filling up the coolant? Meanwhile, forgot to put the gasket in the thermostat housing. Take two.